Hi, hello, namaste, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Manjunath Patnanshetty and you're watching Physics Square. So in the previous sessions, we had a talk about physical world. There we discussed about a scientific method as well as few principles which is governed by physics. Say for example, it might be all about, say for example, unification, as well as we discussed about reductionism. And we had some discussion about scientific method, but in today's session we'll have a talk about scope of physics, excitement of physics, and we will understand how physics and technology are related, and as well as we will understand the basic forces of our nature. So let us start with scope of physics. Scope of physics. What is scope of physics? What is scope of physics? What exactly means by scope of physics? It means that how broad you can study physics. How broad you can study physics. How broad? How much? Say for example, physics itself is a very vast subject. We all know that. Let us take an analogy and we'll try to understand for what extent we can study physics. Say for example, here there is a duster, isn't it? Now if the duster is in motion, now you will have a mindset of seeing the duster which is in motion in such a way that you will observe only a duster moving. Fine. So now if you apply physics to this, it is quite simple, because you are applying physics only to the duster. Fine, that is an entirely different thing. But what about the atoms which are present in the duster? Around the atom there are electrons which are revolving. Fine. So my question is that, do you think that the duster which is in motion as well as the electrons which are revolving around the atom, both are in the same motion? Can we describe both the motion in a similar fashion? No, it is not at all possible, because duster when compared to the electrons, nodri, electrons gu mattu duster gu compare madadaga, this duster is very much big in size, but when you go for that duster, those small elementary particles like electrons, they are very small, so there the things will get different. Here when the things associated with the duster is completely different, therefore we cannot associate a single physics to all those two different views or those two different sections. Therefore scope of physics is all about, we'll study physics in two different sections. We'll study physics in macroscopic level. We study physics in terms of microscopic level. We'll study physics in these two levels, macroscopic as well as microscopic. Macroscopic andre eno? Macroscopic andre the physics which deals with bigger one, the physics which deals with bigger objects, bigger things, the physics which deals with smaller things or smaller particles, that is nothing but microscopic. Naan ivaga one example tagonde, the duster was in motion. Fine, that study about the duster comes under macroscopic level. But when I consider some of the electrons or some of the elementary particles, that comes under microscopic level. So ee tara ನಾವು ಓದ್ತೀವಿ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓದ್ತೀವಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಓದ್ತೀವಿ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನನ್ನು ಓದ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಸೇ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ವಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಕಲ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ಸ್. ಇದು ಒಂದು ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್. ಎರಡನೇದು ಬಂದು ವಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ magnetism. This is also a branch. Then we study about optics. We study about thermodynamics, etc. etc. But your class 11 syllabus ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ PUC first year physics syllabus is completely based on classical mechanics. It is completely based on classical mechanics, as well as you will have to see about thermodynamics. We will study about thermodynamics as well as classical mechanics. Major portion of your syllabus is composed by these two branches. Now in microscopic level, what you are able to see antandre, you are able to see quantum physics. You will study about quantum physics. You will study about nuclear physics, quantum physics, nuclear physics, atomic physics, and you will also study about semiconductors. See, this deal with huge bodies, this deal with minute bodies. This deals with what? Minute bodies. This is the difference between macroscopic level as microscopic level. Understood? So not only this, there are physics, actually physics itself is a very vast subject, as we all know that, but majorly we study like macroscopic as well as microscopic. There comes one more branch here which lies between macroscopic as well as microscopic, that is called as mesoscopic, which is called as what? Mesoscopic antandre, where we will study about the things which are composed of 1000 atoms. Which are composed of how many atoms? Which are composed of 1000 atoms. Fine. So this is all about scope of physics. In scope of physics, if you apply scope of physics to some of the parameters like mass, some of the parameter like length, some of the parameter like time, there we can see a wide range where physics applies. ಈ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಸಿಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, ಟೈಮಿಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, ತದನಂತರ ಈ ಲೆಂತಿಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ರೇಂಜಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಓದ್ತೇವೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು I will give a brief explanation about all those things. But before that, you take a screenshot about the scope of physics, what you study under microscopic level as well as macroscopic level. Fine. Hope things are getting clear, Allah. Next, here scope of physics, when it comes to the matter of mass, we can apply physics from 10 to the power of minus 30 kg. 10 to the power of minus 30 kg. 10 to the power of minus 30 kg ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆ? 10 to the power of minus 30 kg is nothing but mass of an electron. It is nothing but what? Mass of an electron. Mass of an electron ಇಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು I can apply physics till 10 to the power of 55 kg. 10 to the power of 55 kg. What about this 10 to the power of 55 kg? This is nothing but mass of universe. What it is? It is nothing but mass of universe. Next, this was all about mass. Fine, when it comes to the matter of length, you can apply from 10 to the power of minus 14 meter to 10 to the power of 26 meters. What about 10 to the power of minus 14 meter? Where you get to see, you can see this size in nucleus. What about this 10 to the power of 26 meter? It is the size of universe. Size of universe is nothing but what? Size of universe. Next, when you come to the matter of time, when you start applying physics in terms of time, you can start applying, or you can start from 10 to the power of minus 22 seconds to 10 to the power of 18 seconds. See here, see the range, 10 to the power of minus 22 seconds to 10 to the power of 18 seconds. What about this 10 to the power of minus 22 seconds? Time taken by light to travel the nucleus. Time taken by the light to travel the nucleus. Nucleus is very small. So you can start applying physics from 10 to the power of minus 22 seconds. Can you imagine the time? As well as you can go for 10 to the power of 18 seconds. Can go until 10 to the power of 18 seconds. This is nothing but life of sun. Fine. So this vast is the scope of physics. This vast is the scope of physics. I hope that you will write down this, or else if possible take a screenshot. Fine. Yeah. Next, we'll start talking about excitement of physics. Next, excitement of physics. So what is excitement of physics? See, excitement of physics is nothing but what you will do after understanding physics. What you will do? First one, by understanding physics, we can understand daily phenomena. You can understand daily phenomena which are occurring around us. Say for example, something is falling down. If you apply physics to it, you will come across gravity, you will come across velocity, you can literally go with mass, you can literally go with some of other physical things which are physics things which are associated with it. And say for example, now I am talking and you people are listening, and if you try to apply physics here, what you can get is you can get a knowledge about sound, acoustics. Fine. There are many things which you can learn from our daily life phenomena, so that we can do this. Next, we can perform experiments. Literally we can do this. We can perform experiments. Say for example, see, if you take a scale, one scale, take any scale. Say for example, this is a scale. Fine, this is a scale. This is a scale which I used which ಮಾಮೂಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾಥಮೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ಅಳಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಅನ್ಕೊಡಿ. what is the distance I can measure from the scale? It starts from, if you observe carefully, it starts from 0 to 15 centimeters. It starts from 0 to 15 centimeters. If I want to measure the distance beyond that, say for example, I want to measure something like 0.001 meter. Is it possible? No, it is not possible. But there are instruments which I can measure even the smallest distance that we people will be doing in our first PUC laboratory. Those equipments are called as vernier caliper as well as micrometer screw gauge. Adanna ನಾವು laboratory ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೋಡೋಣ. But we can perform experiments. Fine, we can determine something by performing experiments. That you can do. By understanding physics, you can perform physics. Sorry, by understanding physics, you can perform what? You can perform experiments. Third, application. This is the one of the thing which have to understand in detail. How to apply physics? I will give you a smallest example. I'll give us one small example through which you can understand how physics can be applied to discover something. Aita? So you people might have heard about so-called semiconductors. Semiconductors anta gottagutte. Semiconductors ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ PUC ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲೋ 10th ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಿರ್ತೀರಾ, ನೆನಪಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ನೆನಪಿರಲ್ಲ. I want to keep it very simple like this. Have you people ever seen first computer? It was the size of a room. First computer was the size of a room. Now, have you seen laptops? They can sit on the lap. Where is the size of a computer? Where is the computer which was in the size of a room? Now the computers are sitting on the laps. What is this? See, there is a big transformation happened from the size of room to the size which we can afford the computer on our lap. It's all happened because the revolution which took place in the physics, that is nothing but semiconductors. So that was a beautiful application of a physics. So we can apply our knowledge. So to overcome the needs. Even in the olden days, we used to have a telephone. Which we often call it as a landline. But ಇವಾಗ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಹತ್ರನೂ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಆಯಿತಾ? ಸೊ this is a transformation, or else you can call this as an application. What kind of an application? It came under a branch of physics called electromagnetism. What? Electromagnetism. So that is nothing but application. Fourth one is future prediction. Fourth one is future prediction. You can also predict the future by understanding the physics. So that is all about excitement of physics. I want you people to write it down. It's not a very big rocket science to understand all these things. Very basic things which we can easily understand by seeing all these points. Fine? Write it down. Now, let us understand how physics and technology are related. Physics, write down the heading as physics and technology. See, if you ask me personally, physics and technology both are interrelated. Both are what? Interrelated. You can also call this as, let us take case 1 and case 2, understand physics and technology. In case 1, let us say that physics makes technology. Physics makes what? Technology. Physics in the technology ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Physics in the ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, technology ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Physics gives rise to technology. For example, what example you can take? You can go for example like electromagnetism. Electromagnetism. What is electromagnetism? Electromagnetism is nothing but a branch of physics. It led to a technology called wireless communication. Wireless communication. It led to a technology called what? Wireless communication. Example, mobile, etc. Example, mobile as well as etc. ಅಂದರೆ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸಿಂದ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿನ ನಾವು ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಹೀಗೂ ಕರಿಬೋದು. ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ gives rise to physics. ಇದು ಹೆಂಗ್ರಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯ? ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ gives rise to physics. See, to understand this, go back to our olden days. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೈಟ್ ಜಗತ್ತಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಇಂಜಿನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ವು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಇಂಜಿನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಇಂಜಿನ್ದು ಒಂದು ಮೇಜರ್ ಡ್ರಾಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಏನಂತಂದರೆ ದ ಎಫಿಷಿಯನ್ಸಿ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಇಂಜಿನ್. ಎಫಿಷಿಯನ್ಸಿ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಇಂಜಿನ್ ವಾಸ್ ಟೂ ಲೋ. ಆಯಿತಾ? ಎಫಿಷಿಯನ್ಸಿ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಫಿಷಿಯನ್ಸಿ ವಾಸ್ ಟೂ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಇಂಜಿನ್. ದೇರ್ ಫೋರ್ people started reading one of the branch of physics, that is nothing but thermodynamics. Thermodynamics. So it led to a new branch to deal with, that was nothing but thermodynamics. After reading thermodynamics in detail, information which we got from the thermodynamics led to the invention of engine, that is nothing but diesel engine. It is nothing but what? Diesel engine. Before diesel engine got invented, heat engine was invented. The modification of heat engine led to the diesel engine. See, this is the beauty. Physics makes technology, in turn technology also makes physics. Both are interrelated. You cannot separate physics from the technology as well as technology from the physics. So that's all about physics as well as technology. Write down soon so that we will move to the last part of the topic, that is nothing but fundamental forces of nature. Start taking. Hope you people are understanding. Actually, the previous session video which I made, I have not uploaded in my YouTube channel. In coming days, might be within 2 or 3 days, I'll be uploading my first session for PU first year students in my YouTube channel, that I'll be doing within 2 or 3 days. So until then, watch this and get cleared with your doubts. So hope that I think you people have finished with this. Yeah. And one more thing, many students who are suffering from the doubts, ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಏನಾದರೂ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಡೌಟ್ಸನ್ನು ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಆನ್ಸರ್ನ ಹುಡುಕೋಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್. Fine. So let us move to the best topic of the session, that is nothing but fundamental forces. Fundamental forces. Or fundamental anta ಕರಿಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ you may call it as basic forces. You may call it as what? Basic forces. Now, see, ಇಡೀ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ನ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಹೋಲ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್. go anywhere, you will come across these forces, these fundamental forces. ಈ ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಿಮಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ಗಳು ಸಿಗೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ. ಇದು ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಒನ್. ನೀವೇನೇನು ನೋಡಿದ್ರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಹೌ ಮೆನಿ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್? Totally there are 4 fundamental forces. How many fundamental forces? There are 4 fundamental forces. So let us understand one by one. So if I want to write the forces in terms of their strength, I'll be writing like this. This is weak forces comes here. Strong forces comes here. Weak forces comes here. Strong forces. It means the strength of the force is going on increasing from left hand side to the right hand side. First comes gravitational force. First comes what? Gravitational force. Second comes weak nuclear force. Third one, electromagnetic force. Lastly, the strongest of all, strong nuclear force. Strongest of all what? Strong nuclear force. So this is how you bifurcate the 4 fundamental forces. It is not called as bifurcation. Actually these are the basic 4 fundamental forces which you come across in the universe everywhere, wherever you go. So let us understand one by one in detail. Fine. So let us start with gravitational force. Let us start with what? Gravitational force. Yeah. Let us start with gravitational force. What is actually a gravitational force? Who formulated this? Who invented this? You people might have studied about Sir Isaac Newton in class 9. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು, ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸೈಂಟಿಸ್ಟು ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನ್ನ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿತಾನೆ. ಅವನ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಆ್ಯಪಲ್ ಬಿದ್ದಾಗ he invents the gravitation. So that led to a beautiful branch of a physics. There he tells if there are any 2 bodies, say for example this body is of mass m1 and if there is one more body of mass m2 which are separated by distance r. ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಜಗತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ 2 ಬಾಡೀಸ್ ಇರಲಿ, ಆ 2 ಬಾಡೀಸ್ಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಒಂದು ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ದಿಸ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ 2 masses in the universe. ಅಂದರೆ 2 ಮಾಸಸ್ಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ 2 ಮಾಸಸ್ನ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಮಾಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ನೇ ಮಾಸ್ ಬಂದು m1 ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಸ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ m2 ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ r. So what, if you want to understand how much force is there between mass 1 as well as mass 2, for example, if somebody asks, ಸರಿ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಹೇಳ್ದ, ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ದ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ನು, ಎರಡೂ ಮಾಸ್ಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ದ. ಬಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ರೀ? ವಾಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ದ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಬೈ F equals to G. What is G? G is nothing but a gravitational constant. ಅಥವಾ you can go by this also. According to the Newton, what Newton says is force of attraction is directly proportional to product of their masses. Is directly proportional to what? Product of their masses. Force of attraction is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. ಈ ಎರಡೂ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ಸ್ನ ನಾನು ಏನಾದರೂ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಎಂಡ್ ಅಪ್ ವಿತ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ F equals to G m1 m2 divided by r square. G m1 m2 divided by r square. What is this G? G is nothing but gravitational constant which is constant anywhere in the universe. ಸೊ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಈ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾನ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಮಾಸಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತಂದರೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತವೆ, ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಸಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತಂದರೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡೂ ಬಾಡಿಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದರೆ, ಎರಡೂ ಬಾಡಿಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದರೆ ಏನು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದರೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ವಾಟ್? ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. Let us understand few more points about gravitational force. It is called as weakest force. It is called as what? Weakest force. ಜಗತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ವೀಕೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. CET ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಎನಿ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು ಬಹಳ ವೀಕೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂತಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ವಾಟ್? ದಿಸ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಯಾವುದ್ರಿ ಅದು? ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಆಯಿತಾ? ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ನೇದ್ದು ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ರೇಂಜ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. It is called as long range force. Why it is called as long range force? Because it can act to the infinite distance. Say for example, ಈ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ನ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಸೂರ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ್ ಪ್ಲಾನೆಟ್ಸ್ಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿನೂ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು, ಚಂದ್ರ ಮತ್ತು ಭೂಮಿಯ ನಡುವೆನೂ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಅಂದರೆ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು, ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಅಂದರೆ ಇದೇನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಭಾಳ ಲಾಂಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ವರೆಗೂ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ನಾವು ವಾಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ವೀಕೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್? ಸಿ ದಿಸ್ ವೀಕೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ದಿ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಆಫ್ ಜಿ. ಈ ಜಿ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಡಿಟೇಲ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸಿಂಗ್ ನೌ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಎಟ್ ದಟ್ ವೀಕೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, ಅದು ನನ್ನ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ. ಸೊ ದರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಡ್ರ್ಯಾಗಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ ಡೀಪರ್. ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಈ ಜಿ ಏನಿದೆಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಜಿ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಬಂದು ಬಹಳ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ದಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಸ್ weakest force. Understood? Now one more thing, weakest force ಆಯಿತು, ಲಾಂಗ್ ರೇಂಜ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಇಟ್ ಡಸಂಟ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ನೋ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್. ನೋ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಎರಡೂ ಮಾಸಸ್ಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮ ಇದ್ರೂ ಒಂದೇ, ಇಲ್ಲದೇ ಇದ್ರೂ ಒಂದೇ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಯಿತಾ? ಸೊ ನೋ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ವಾಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಟಾಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್? ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಟೆಲ್ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ವಾಟ್? ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ರಿಪಲ್ಸಿವ್ ಆಗಿರಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ಎರಡು ಬಾಡಿಗಳು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ವಿನಃ ಎರಡು ಬಾಡಿಗಳು ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ರಿಪಲ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಕೀಪ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಮೈಂಡ್. ನೆವರ್ ಫರ್ಗೆಟ್ ದಿಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್? ಸೊ this is weakest force, long range force, no medium is required, attractive in nature, as well as you can call it as it is nothing but a central force antanu ಕರಿಬಹುದು. central force. This is also called as what? Central force. Understood? So you take down this what I have written here. I want to explain and I want to give some assignment based on this gravitational force. So take down this what I have written, so that I will be moving on to the next part of it. Better to take a screenshot. Right. So here I want to discuss this. Pay attention. It's quite interesting. Wait, yeah, this. ಆ್ಯಪಲ್ ಟ್ರೀ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಈ ಆ್ಯಪಲ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬಿತ್ತು. ಆ್ಯಪಲ್ ಫೆಲ್ ಡೌನ್. ಆಯಿತಾ? ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಯಾರು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ? ಹೂ ಈಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್? ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್, FG. Gravitational force is responsible for apple falling down. We all know this because Mr. Newton described it. One more thing, let us understand this in this way. There is earth, there is earth around earth. Moon is orbiting. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ವಿಷಯನೇ. ಭೂಮಿಯ ಸುತ್ತ ಚಂದ್ರ ಸುತ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ. ಭೂಮಿಯ ಸುತ್ತ ಚಂದ್ರ ಸುತ್ತುತ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಮೂನ್ ಈಸ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ದಿ ಅರ್ತ್. ವಿ ಆಲ್ ನೋ ದಿಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್. ಸರಿ, ವಿಚಿತ್ರ ಏನಂತಂದರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೂ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಕಾರಣ. ಇದಕ್ಕೇನು ಕಾರಣ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇದಕ್ಕೂ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಕಾರಣ ಅಂತ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಸಂಬಡಿ which force is responsible for moon orbiting around the earth, means they will tell that there is a gravitational force, that force is responsible for this orbiting of moon around the earth ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ನನ್ನದೊಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಭೂಮಿ ಆ್ಯಪಲ್ನ ಸೆಳಿತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮೂನು ಅರ್ತ್ಗೆ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಪೇ ಯುವರ್ ಅಟೆನ್ಷನ್. ಇದು ಸಿನಾರಿಯೋ FG ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬಂತು, ಒಪ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಓಕೆ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್. ವಾಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿಸ್? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಮೂನು ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ದ ಅರ್ತ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿ which is not getting this moon which is not getting attracted by the earth? What's wrong with the moon, or what's wrong with the earth? Think about it. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ದ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಈ ಆ್ಯಪಲ್ಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ಭೂಮಿಗೂ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಂತರ ಬಹಳ ಕಡಿಮೆ. ನಾವೊಂದು ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಬರೆದ್ವಿ, ಹೌದಿಲ್ವ? What was that formula? F equals to G. F equals to G m1 m2 divided by r square. F equals to G m1 m2 divided by r square. ಅಂದರೆ ಇದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಾನು ಹೋದರೆ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್. ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಇವೆರಡರ ನಡುವೆ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಆ್ಯಪಲ್ಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ಭೂಮಿಗೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಂತರ ಭಾಳ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ. ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಈ ಭೂಮಿಗೂ ಚಂದ್ರನಿಗೂ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ದೂರ ಬಹಳ ದೂರ. the moon is very far from the earth. So therefore here distance is increased. So whenever distance is increased, this force is decreased. ಹಂಗಾಗಿ moon will not get attracted by the earth. Aita, one more thing which you have to understand here is, ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಆಬ್ಸೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ, ಇಫ್ ದ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿನ್ ಆಬ್ಸೆಂಟ್, ದೆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೀನ್? ದಿಸ್ ಮೂನ್ ನೆವರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟೆಡ್ ಅರ್ತ್. Moon would have never orbited the earth. Moon would have simply escaped. Escape ಆಗಿರೋದು moon. Sorry, due to the presence of this gravitational force only, this moon is orbiting around the earth. Fine. If there was no gravitational force, then moon would have escaped from this orbit. Understood? This is the logic. And you will see some video playing here. Here you will see that and a ball as well as a feather are left at the same time. So ಎರಡು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, they will start falling down. Now after some time you can observe that what is your wave, who will come first? Definitely the ball will fall down first. After that the feather will fall. The reason I don't know. You should type it in the comment box, or else you just text me. Now if you take the same ball as well as same feather, and if you try to keep, or if you try to shut down them, or if you try to bring them down in the presence of vacuum, what will happen? Both will approach the earth at the same time. Now what is the matter behind this? I want the answer in my comment box, or else you can type your answer to my WhatsApp number, that you all people know. Fine. So I want the answer. Have a look at this video. After watching this, give a shot to your brain, think about it. Fine. So next, we speak about weak nuclear forces. Second one is weak nuclear forces. First one was strong nuclear force, second is weak nuclear forces. You will see this weak nuclear force up to the level of nucleus. ಅಂದರೆ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ವರೆಗೂ ನೀವು ಈ ವೀಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ನ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ವೀಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರೇರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಪ್ಲೇ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಈ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ, ವೇರ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದೀಸ್ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಸಿ ಹಿಯರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದೀಸ್ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ particle into another. Conversion of one particle into another. For example, artha agilla antandre pay attention towards here. Say for example, there is a neutron. Illon neutron ide. Ellarigu gottu neutron means it's a fundamental particle anta gottu. When you have opted science, no matter from which medium you are, try to sit in your home, try to read, and then try to come into the class. ಆಯಿತಾ, ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬನ್ನಿ, ಏನಾದರೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬನ್ನಿ. ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಫೋರ್ ಐ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಲುಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿ ಟೆಲ್ in advance, so that it will help you people to understand in a better fashion. So therefore consider a neutron. ಈ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಿಸ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇಂಟು ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್. ವೆನ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್? ಸಿ, if this neutron, if it has to get converted into proton, this transformation, when this transformation happens, it happens by emitting electron as well as anti-neutrino. Electron as well as anti-neutrino. neutrino. Electron as well as what? Anti-neutrino. So you need not worry about all those things. Just think that these forces will comes into play when neutron gets converted into proton. This process is called as beta minus decay. This process is called as what? Beta minus decay. Andre beta decay process alli nimage weak nuclear forces nododakke sigutte. Next, ide proton ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಎಮಿಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? ಇಟ್ ಎಮಿಟ್ಸ್ positron. What it emits? It emits positron. So therefore this is called as beta plus decay. This is called as what? Beta decay. Need not to worry about all these decays and all. We will learn in the second PUC. But try to give clean attention towards what I am trying to convince here. ಈ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಈ ಎರಡು ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಯು ಪೀಪಲ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಡೌನ್. And one more thing, this is a short range force. This is a short range force. You can see this force for only some distance. Not you can see this force like a gravitational force which acts for an infinite distance and all. Fine, have a shot. So I have been left with two more forces. I want to complete all those two forces in the session itself. Let us start with this. One more force, that is nothing but electromagnetic force. Now we will study about electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force. So what is electromagnetic force? When you pay attention, electromagnetic force is nothing but a combination of two forces. One is electric force, another one is magnetic force. Electric force as well as magnetic force. Now question comes, where we can see this electromagnetic force? We can see this electromagnetic force between any charges. Between any charges. So you people all know that sorry, you people all know that there are two types of charges. One is positive charge, another one is negative charge. See, positive as well as positive charge attract each other, repel each other. Negative as well as negative repel each other. Negative positive attract each other. Positive negative attract each other. It means positive positive repel, negative negative repel, negative positive attract, positive negative attract. It means like charges always repel each other, unlike charges always attract each other. Now one thing, what I said initially, I said that this electrostatic force exists between charges. Electrostatic force exists between what? Charges. Now say for example a charge is at rest. Say any charge, I'll call charge Q. Q is a charge. One charge ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, Q ಅಂತ ಕರಿತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. This charge is at rest. When charge is at rest, it experiences or it produces electric force. And if there is a charge which is under motion, it gives rise to magnetic force. It gives rise to what? Magnetic force. So now this electromagnetic force is 10 to the power of 38 times stronger than gravitational force. Then what? Then gravitational force. Now understand this very carefully. See, I have a ball here. I have a ball. This ball, I would like to hold this ball in this direction. In this direction. Now you all know that there is a gravitational force which is acting downwards. Fine. ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಏನಾಗಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಈ ಬಾಲು ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಒಬೇ ದಿಸ್ ದಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಏನಂತಂದರೆ, ದ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈಯಿಂಗ್ the force which I am applying, is that enough for this ball not to go down, or is there any other force which is responsible for a ball to stay here, what is your opinion? ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಇವಾಗ ನೀವು ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಆಯಿತಾ, ಬಿಟ್ಟಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಏನಂತಂದರೆ, ನಾನು ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ತಾನೇ ಈ ಬಾಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೆನಾ, ಅಥವಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಇದೆನಾ, ಜನ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆನಾ ಅಂತ. ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಿಂಪಲ್. ವೆನ್ ಯು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಅ ಬಾಲ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್, ಈ ಸರ್ಫೇಸಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಜನ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಚಾರ್ಜಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಏನು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ಚಾರ್ಜಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಚಾರ್ಜಸ್ಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಯಾವ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ? ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ಇಟ್ ಲಿಟ್ರಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಟ್ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದೆರ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ದಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ is responsible for the ball not falling down, because electromagnetic force is 10 to the power of 38 times greater than the gravitational force. Or simply you may do a experiment like this. You hold a water, you put your finger into the water, fine, and you hold like this. You can observe that water, there will be a water droplet. That water droplet will not fall down, so it just hangs over at the tip of the finger. What is responsible for this? The same thing here, electromagnetic force. So what I want to conclude? I want to conclude that electromagnetic force is the strongest force. It is 10 to the power of 38 times greater than the gravitational force. It's all about electromagnetic force. So what I have to remember, it acts between charges. Charges. So you people need not to worry about the ranges. Once I am done with all the forces, I will display a table which is given by the NCERT people. That table will give you idea the range of different forces. Fine. So without wasting no time, we'll jump on to the next force. That is nothing but strong nuclear force, which is the important as well as the strongest of all these forces. So that is nothing but what? Strong nuclear force. Last one, strong nuclear force, SNF ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. SNF. ಸರಿ, understand this very much intensely. It gives a good knowledge about atoms. See here, let us draw an atom. This is nucleus. This is what? Nucleus. ಇದನ್ನೇನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ ನಾವು? ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತು, ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತವೆ, ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ಲಿ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ಡ್, ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್, ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲಿ ಇನ್ ನೇಚರ್. ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ಸ್, ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್. ಇದೇ ಥರ ತುಂಬ ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ತುಂಬ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಈ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ನ ಕಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತವೆ. ಆಯಿತಾ? ಈ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಸುತ್ತಲೂ, ಅರೌಂಡ್ ದ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್, ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಸುತ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸರಿ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೇನು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ? ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಟಮ್. ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟ್? ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಟಮ್. ನನಗೆ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇಷ್ಟೇ. The electron which is revolving around the nucleus as well as the proton inside the nucleus are made up of what? Proton is positively charged, this electron is negatively charged. My simple question is that if at all these two are charges, definitely these two are charges, then what kind of a force should be there between the charges? As discussed before, there has to be electromagnetic force. There has to be which force? There has to be electromagnetic force. But electromagnetic force exist ಆದರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು ಹೇಳ್ರಿ? ಇದು ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್, ಇದು ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್, ಇವೆರಡು ಏನಾಗ್ತಿದ್ವು? ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು? ಇಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಟು ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿನ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್, ದೆನ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ atom would have been taken place. Because whenever this electron leaves its orbit and comes to the nucleus, there will be a no space for any atom. There will be a complete destruction. Now, this is not happening, isn't it? Because of that only I am existing. Even I am a matter. There are electrons in my body. There are neutrons. There are protons. Of course, there are atoms where nucleus is surrounded or orbited by the electrons. That is happening. Because of that only I am existing. Because of that only you people are existing. Fine. Adre, this is not happening here. What is the reason behind it? The reason is strong nuclear force. What is that strong nuclear force? Strong nuclear force is a force which exists between proton, neutron, neutron, proton, and proton, proton, neutron as well as neutron. This strong nuclear force is charge independent. It is nothing but what? Charge independent. It is nothing but what? Charge independent. It doesn't depend upon charge. It doesn't look that, oh, there is a proton, there is a neutron, there should be no so-called strong nuclear force. It's not like that. Even though if there are two protons also, there are two neutrons also, there is a force called strong nuclear force. See, this is pretty much interesting. Here, this SNF exists only between proton and neutron, neutron and proton, proton, proton as well as neutron and neutron. This SNF will not jump out from this nucleus. ಅಂದರೆ ಇದ್ರದ್ದು ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯ ಏನಿದ್ರೂ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಮಾತ್ರ. ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ರೇಂಜ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ದ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್, ನಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್. ಫೈನ್. So therefore this SNF is so strong that it is dominating electromagnetic force. It is dominating what? Electromagnetic force. Because of that only this electron is not coming, or it is not leaving the orbit and jumping into the nucleus. So therefore this strong nuclear force which is responsible for this atom to be in a stable state. Understood? So therefore strong nuclear force is one of the strongest force. So and it is a short range force. It is what? Short range force. And this completes our first chapter in the physics, that is nothing but physical world. So in my channel I have uploaded my first video of this physical world. Very soon I will be uploading that. Until then you please watch this video, and if you are suffering with any doubts, shoot those doubts in the comment box, or else you can put your doubts into my WhatsApp number. Fine. Thank you all. Keep supporting, and thanks for watching.